Here are the main points from the Group of 20 communique after finance chiefs met in Mexico City. We will do everything necessary to strengthen the overall health and growth of the global economy. Our main focus in the period ahead will be to rebuild confidence and to reduce risks and volatility in international financial markets, contribute to a faster pace of economic recovery and job creation, and promote the foundations for strong, sustainable, and balanced growth. We are firmly committed to open trade and investment, expanding markets and resisting protectionism in all its forms. Global growth remains modest and downside risks are still elevated, including due to possible delays in the complex implementation of recent policy announcements in Europe, the potential sharp fiscal tightening in the United States, securing funding for this year's budget in Japan, weaker growth in some emerging markets and additional supply shocks in some commodity markets. The reduction of global imbalances has not been sufficient, and in many countries the process of necessary deleveraging by the private and public sectors is ongoing and unemployment remains high. Complete and timely implementation of all of our policy commitments is critical in order to continue to reduce risks and secure a durable and strong recovery. Current reform momentum in the EU on structural, fiscal and financial fields needs to be continued with the view to improving competitiveness and promoting financial stability. In this respect, we welcome the recent decision by European leaders to agree on a legislative framework by January 1, 2013 on a single supervisory mechanism. We look forward to the operational implementation of the single supervisory mechanism in the course of 2013 and to the completion of the technical discussions on the future of the ESM direct bank recapitalization instrument, within a broader strategy of completing the architecture of the EU. We will ensure our public finances are on sustainable paths, in line with the medium-term Toronto commitments in the case of advanced economies. In light of the weak pace of global growth, they will ensure that the pace of fiscal consolidation is appropriate to support the recovery. Countries which have fiscal space will let the automatic fiscal stabilizers operate as appropriate. Those with sufficient space stand ready to support demand as needed in the short run should economic conditions deteriorate. The United States will carefully calibrate the pace of fiscal tightening to ensure that public finances are placed on a sustainable long-run path while avoiding a sharp fiscal contraction in 2013. In Japan, further progress in medium-term fiscal consolidation is needed. By the next summit, advanced economies agree to identify credible and ambitious country-specific targets for the debt-to-GDP ratio beyond 2016, where these do not currently exist, accompanied by clear strategies and timetables to achieve them. The weak pace of global growth also reflects limited progress towards sustaining and rebalancing global demand. We commit to achieving external and internal adjustment in a way that supports and sustains growth and leads to global rebalancing. In this regard, we reiterate our commitments to move more rapidly toward more market-determined exchange rate systems and exchange rate flexibility to reflect underlying fundamentals, avoid persistent exchange rate misalignments and refrain from competitive devaluation of currencies, to boost domestic sources of growth in surplus economies, and boost national savings in deficit economies. We reiterate that excess volatility of financial flows and disorderly movements in exchange rates have adverse implications for economic and financial stability. We commit to the implementation of ambitious structural reforms aimed at promoting output and employment. We welcome the continuation of the process to strengthen IMF resources to safeguard global financial stability and enhance the IMF's role in crisis prevention and resolution. We remain committed to the full implementation of the 2010 quota and governance reform. We are committed to completing the comprehensive review of the quota formula, to address deficiencies and weaknesses in the current quota formula, by January 2013 and to complete the next general review of quotas by January 2014. We reaffirm that the distribution of quotas based on the formula should better reflect the relative weights of IMF members in the world economy, which have changed substantially in the view of a strong GDP growth in dynamic emerging markets and developing countries. We remain committed to the full, timely and consistent implementation of the financial regulation agenda. We agree to put in place the legislation and regulation for OTC derivatives reforms promptly and act by end 2012 to identify and address conflicts, inconsistencies and gaps in our respective national frameworks, including in the cross-border application of rules. We agree to take the measures needed to ensure full, timely and effective implementation of Basel II, 2.5 and II and its consistency with the internationally agreed standards. We welcome the observed increase in jurisdictions' adherence to international regulatory and supervisory cooperation and information exchange standards, as stated in the FSB status report, and call for further progress. We welcome and endorse the improved OECD standard with respect to information requests on a group of taxpayers and encourage all countries to adopt it when appropriate. We will continue to implement practices of automatic exchange of information and call on the OECD to analyze the safeguards, mechanisms and milestones necessary to increase its use and efficient implementation in a multilateral context. We also welcome the work that the OECD is undertaking into the problem of base erosion and profit shifting and look forward to a report about progress of the work at our next meeting. In Los Cabos, leaders recognize that excessive commodity price volatility has significant implications for countries, increasing uncertainty in the economy, and endorse the conclusions of a report on the macroeconomic impacts of excessive commodity price volatility on growth. Ahead of the 2013 summit, we will report progress on the G20's contribution to facilitate better functioning of commodity markets, considering possible areas for further work outlined in the report. We reaffirmed our commitment to improve transparency and functioning of commodity markets. We welcome the progress made in the implementation of the Agricultural Market Information System AMIS, which will provide more transparency on physical markets for agricultural commodities.